Hi folks, welcome to the Break Key. My name's Henry and today we're going to be building a joypad. Well, maybe it's not a joypad. I think I might be using my terms wrong because I'm not in the gamer space really. But I can tell you this much, it's going to have 5 buttons on it, one for each cardinal direction and one for a fire button because, well, there's only one fire button available on the Coco 1 and 2 if I recall correctly. At least in the Coco schematics, I don't see a second fire button. And that brings me to a point. One of the questions you might want to ask is, well, how do these joysticks work in the first place? Most everybody who's been in the Coco space already knows how they work, but in case you're new to this, let's go ahead and go over a little bit of theory. So sit back, relax, and join me at the break key. Alright, so here I've got the Color Computer Reference Manual. And as you can see, it talks about the joysticks being 2 identical assemblies which will plug into either P3 or P4. Those are the plugs on the back of the computer that actually take in the joysticks, obviously. This shows a 5-pin DIN connector. Newer models will have a 6-pin DIN connector on it. So 5 pins, 6 pins. The biggest thing is if you're using a Coco 1, I think the Coco 1 doesn't have the center pin, so you'd have to have a 5-pin unit. The original Black Beauties use a 5-pin. I believe the Deluxe Joystick uses a 5-pin. Correct me if I'm wrong. It has been decades since I've seen a Deluxe Joystick in person. And the other thing to keep in mind, you'll notice here, we've got some potentiometers going on. This is a significant difference from anything that you might find like with Atari, with Commodore, where you've basically got the 4 switches. And that makes it that makes it kind of difficult to do a simple 4-switch up, down, left, right type of a joystick. There's a little bit of adapting that has to go on, maybe a circuit board or something like that. But thankfully, here's the key. It's all in the resistor right here. If you don't happen to be familiar with how this works, basically what you've got, this is going to be your hot line, your 5 volts. It's going to drop through here, come across the resistor, drop all its voltage as it goes down to ground. So this end is going to be at 0, this end's going to be at 5, and this here in the middle just wipes between the 5 and the 0. And that is what your stick actually moves between. So theoretically, all we have to do is set up a series of resistances such that when you hit the maximum, it sees 5 volts, and a minimum, it sees 0 volts, or similar, or something like that. We'll get that worked out, okay? And I might get it backwards. I don't know. We'll figure it out. And if I get it backwards, I'll just resolder it later. At any rate, what are we looking at with this? All right, so next things next. I want to see, like, how does this even work? Because we're talking about an analog voltage here, and computers are digital. Well, if you're not familiar with the Tandy TRS-80 color computer, it has a 6-bit digital to analog converter. The first time I actually looked at that and saw that it was in fact a digital analog converter, I was actually quite surprised. But then I looked at it again and saw that the type of DAC it was, at least in the Coco 1, was a very simple resistor ladder. And I'm not going to go into the theory of that one, but it didn't require anything really special. And realistically speaking, you can create a digital analog converter just by using a bunch of resistors. So here over in the color computer schematic, you don't see the DAC, but you do see where it's using this analog multiplexer here to go ahead and pull in that value. Well, what's it doing with that value? And to kind of see what's going on with it, we can look at what's happening in the basic ROM itself. So there is a joystick. Routine that reads the joystick values. It starts right up here-ish, and we move on down to say a 6-bit software analog to digital conversion routine. Okay, great. How do we do that when the Coco doesn't have an analog to digital converter? Well, it does have an analog comparator that tells you whether it's above or below. does have that information, whether it's high or low. So with that, we can compare a known voltage to the unknown voltage. So what we do is we generate our known voltage, and our unknown voltage is coming in through the joystick port, and that's exactly what this is doing right here. It's doing a binary search, as it were. Okay, is it higher or, okay, we start right in the middle at 2.5 volts. Is it higher or lower than 2.5 volts? Oh, it's higher? Okay, great. Let's try 3.75 volts. Is it higher or lower than 3.75 volts? And we've got 6 bits of resolution. We only have 6 bits of resolution, so it doesn't take that long to find it. It doesn't take that long at all. It takes a few cycles. So it's still, not optimal in that you don't have it there instantly, but it does work, especially at the speeds we're running this machine at. We're talking the CPU speed of like 0.9 megahertz. It's not fast at all. Okay, there's the theory in a nutshell. All right, so now the next thing we want to do is, how are we going to get this resistance to work? Well, let's look again at the joystick values here. You see the potentiometer is 100 kiloohms. Okay, great. We got 100 kiloohms. Not a big problem. At 5 volts, we're using Ohm's law here, which is E over IR. Hey, let me draw something here real quick, and I'll show you a little quick trick for Ohm's law that I learned. So this, I may jump cut here. A real quickie for Ohm's law. I learned it as E for voltage rather than V for voltage. So I'll try to remember to go with V. This is, I learned electronics when I was like 10 years old, and I learned that from a course that was based in like the 1960s. All right, so we start with a circle. Very, very simple. We also make sure that our circle does not have any fill, so that we can see what's going on with it. Then we draw a line. Okay, and bisect the circle. Then we draw another line and bisect the lower half. All right, what does this mean? So let me go ahead and start with voltage in the big one. We're going to go ahead and change that. We're going to turn on the fill and turn off the stroke for the text. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put voltage up here. And then we're going to take that and put current right here. And then we're going to go and put resistance right here. Okay, so what do we have? We have effectively an easy way to solve for any variable of a simple equation such as voltage is equal to current times resistance. All we have to do is cover up the one we're solving for. So like with that 100 kiloohms, we know that we've got 100 kiloohms, we know we've got 5 volts. So that means all we have, if we want to solve for current, we just kind of like X through that, and we're left with voltage over resistance. Voltage over resistance is equal to current. So there you go. Remember that. That also works for power is equal to current times voltage. It works for any type of any equation that goes according to that. So we got 5 volts, and we know that's 100 kiloohms. So we're talking 100 kiloohms. So that's going to be 5 millivolts, 100. So that's going to be about 0.05 milliamps. I'm sorry, 0.05 milliamps. So 0.05 milliamps, not much. Close without saving. 0.05 milliamps, not much. So we don't really have to worry that terribly much about the current that's going through here with a 100 kilo ohm resistor. Now for the next bit, what about when this is at 0? Okay, when that's at 0, that's where we come in and we meet this current limiting resistor right here. This sits right before the input to pin 5, and as we saw, pin 5 is where we have our plus 5 volts that connects to the potentiometers. All right, so we don't have to worry about it. Most we're going to draw is going to be along the lines of like 50 microamps, something like that. Okay, now, how do we put this into a not potentiometer type of a way? Well, okay, so now we've got the possibility of just using fixed resistors. All right, so we're going to use fixed resistors. So let me start with a fixed resistor. Hi, there we go. That's what I'm looking for. That's at 100 ohms. We're going to make that a little bit bigger, and we're going to change you to, let's see, you're not going to be 100 ohms. You're going to be 100. You're going to be, actually, because we're going to use 2, we're going to make you 50, and you're going to be kilo ohms. There we go. And then we're going to take you and duplicate you. All right, so we got two 50 kilo ohm resistors. Now, the next trick, it may seem naive, but hey, this just might work. Okay. All right, so this is going to effectively be one axis of our joystick. Let's see what we can do with this. Remove that. We'll put this here. I know it doesn't make a blessed bit of difference, but you know what? I think it looks prettier that way. Okay, and then you can come right there. So now we've got 5 volts, and so where are we going to probe the voltage in order for this to work? Well, I don't know what you're thinking, but I've done this once or twice before, and if I recall correctly, and it kind of sort of makes sense, we should be able to probe right here, and it should be good. So here comes the question. How does that work? All right, we've got 50 kilo ohms going across. Again, this is a simple voltage divider, just like a potentiometer, but we've got a fixed location here. Oh, we've got it running through the 50 kilo ohms, going through the 50 kilo ohms. So this should show, right now, it should show 5 volts. Or no, I'm sorry, 2.5 volts. So let me go ahead and look at that. 2.5 volts, right? Nice. It's showing 2.5 volts. Okay. So, now, if I short this, with this switch, this resistor, I should be bringing it to the pull-up condition so that the entire 5 volts appears over here. Does that happen? Yes, it does. Very, very nice. Now, by the same token, if I short this resistor, I should be pulling this voltage to ground. Does it do that? Yes, it does. Very, very nice. Okay, so we've got everything set up. One more thing to check, okay? One more thing to check, and that is how much current we're actually sending into the machine. Now, with the current at this location, we're not worried about because that's actually going to be the same. That's already current limited. That's fine. Oh, all right, and we also know that we're not sending that terribly much current into the machine in the first place because the machine current limits itself with that 100 kilo ohm resistor. So let's go ahead and look at this real quick and see what we've got going on here. I need to remove this. I need to make you. And this is an ammeter, so it does have to be placed in series. This is not a clamp ammeter, which is unfortunate, but you know, you use what you can get. Okay. So now let's go ahead and get this running again. All right, and so I'm showing, just as we said before, 50 microamps, okay, which makes perfect sense. If I short out the upper 50 ohms, what I should see is I should see the current path going from here to here to here to here to here, and I should see this go up to somewhere around 100 microamps. Yep, right at 100 microamps. Perfect. Okay. And so by the same token, we should probably see this go up to 100 microamps. Yep, 100 microamps. Perfect. All right, so we know that it's still going to be 100 microamps, at least through that part of the circuit. So that's like not going to be that necessarily big of a deal. All right. Great. Wonderful. Marvelous. So we've got this figured out. Now, the next question is, what is up and what is down? I don't remember what is up and what is down, nor do I remember what is left or what is right. I think up is low resistance. I think up is high resistance and down is low resistance. Left is high resistance and I'm incorrect about that. Low resistance. Up is low resistance because up is the bigger number. I think up is the bigger number in the joystick routine, which means that it's going to be a higher voltage, which means that it's going to be, a lower resistance. So I think my zero resistance, this one right here, actually needs to be, where's my probe? Because I want to make sure that I'm correct here. Yep. Actually needs to be up, and I think that actually needs to be left. So let's go ahead and start putting this together and see if I'm wrong. Okay, that should work. I want it to be just... No, I'm not OCD. At least I haven't been diagnosed with it. Those two, and I can pull that off there. All right. And then those two. Okay. This is going to not be pretty. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, now I see how I'm going to do that. All right. So I can actually grab out the resistors. Now in this particular case, I'm going to be using, let's see if we can see that there. I'm not sure. Let me bring this down. Oh. The colors may be a little bit hard to discern, but we're going to be using 51K resistors. That is showing right there. All right. And that's not going to make a very significant difference. That's not going to make a very significant difference. Wait a minute. I don't think. Ooh, the bokeh is a triangle. Yeah, that's not going to make a very significant difference as far as how much current we're doing or anything like that. Remember, we're using a voltage reference here. We're not using current reference. So that's going to be fine. And we're going to need 4 of these. I should see. Okay, so I put it in here. And we're going to go to 200 kilohms. That's my +5. I want to look and see what's going on with the yellow side. Yellow side. I've done something terribly, terribly wrong. Or have I? Oh! Why don't I check this? Okay, that makes sense. Okay, I'm not sure. All right. I'm not sure. Okay, so that was either a rousing success or a spectacular failure. I'm not really sure which. You know why? Because I haven't even plugged it in yet. I looked at resistances. I didn't look at voltages. I could look at voltages if I went ahead and grabbed a +5 volt and put it on there. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I could. I'll probably go ahead and do further diagnosis of this in the next episode. Why am I not finishing it this episode? Well, because I'm actually doing this like today, and then I'm going to render it tomorrow, and then I'm going to post it on Friday. Yeah, it's Wednesday. So basically because I'm doing short turnaround time, and it's getting late, and I've got to get up in the morning. So, at any rate, I just want to say thanks for everybody for tuning in. You know, this is part of it. We're getting there. We're getting there. I've got something that vaguely resembles a D-pad, okay? And it's something that I can sit there and put in my happy little thumbs. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. This will work. Now, I might have to change a few things. I might have to completely scrap it and start over again, but this concept, I'm convinced it's going to work. Is it electrically simple? Absolutely. Is it time spent at the break key? By all means. Thanks and good night, folks. Like and subscribe. Be sure to leave a comment if you can. We'll see you next time at the break key.